Let's go live now to Washington. CNN reporter Isabel Rosales joins us. Isabel, thanks so much for your time. We've seen President Biden finally front the cameras there in Washington, but he took no questions from the waiting media. What was his overarching message? Was it a defensive one or one that was critical of the Taliban and the Afghan leadership?
Laura, I think it's all of the above. Bottom line, he was steadfast as to his reasoning here. He was doubling down on why he is pulling out all of these troops out of Afghanistan. He says that the mission should be about counter-terrorism and not about building up a nation, as we've seen here transitioning with our mission in Afghanistan. He says that it is not in our national security interest to keep boots on the ground there. And Biden had a choice to make, right? Either, he says, he had an ultimatum following the deal made during the Trump years with the Taliban and pulling out all of the troops, or to continue forward ahead and an all-out battle with the Taliban. And he said that there's not a perfect time to withdraw the troops, but he was going to make that difficult decision and not pass off this war to a fifth president, Laura.
He's left utter devastation and desperation, which we've all seen at Kabul airport. And we saw desperate Afghanis cling to that C-17 US aircraft. What is he doing on the humanitarian side? I mean, we've seen the US already evacuate hundreds, if not thousands of Afghans, but is there more to come?
Yeah, in the next coming days, right now we're seeing about 3,500 American troops there on that tarmac. But in the next coming days, that will increase to 6,000. But they are there, to be clear, with one singular mission, and that is not to engage with the Taliban, rather to ensure security and focus on the evacuations. We do know that the focus is, of course, on the Americans, the personnel, followed by these really vulnerable Afghan citizens, these civilians, 30,000 plus of them that really risked their lives working alongside the U.S. military for all these years in roles such as interpreters, right? They are panicked. They think that they might be the target of the Taliban. They fear for their lives. And we just saw those stunning images of them just flooding the airport, some of them holding on to the airplanes, just looking for any and all avenues to just get the heck out of the country. I do want to say that the Pentagon, however, is defending the chaotic withdrawal, right? Because that's been a lot of the criticism. Okay, we understand why you're pulling the troops out, but did it have to be in this way? Did it have to come to this after 20 years, after $2 trillion, after 2,200 soldiers dead there? Did it have to end in this way? The Pentagon says that it did plan out for every possible condition, every possible alternative as to how this would play out. And it did plan this, and it resents it being called a failed mission, saying that it would have been difficult for anyone to predict how Kabul would have turned out in this way.
Isabel, before I let you go, it's all down to the Hamid Karzai airport, the main airport there at Kabul. The US still has control, but we saw those chaotic scenes where planes couldn't land or were having trouble taking off because of the thousands of people on the runway. We have an Australian rescue mission on the way. They say they cannot land until the US has this situation under control. Do you have any information about when or how that might happen?
There's so many questions as to how this will develop, right? We know that commercial flights are non-existent right now. The only way out for these people are through that singular airport right now, and very limited evacuation flights coming in and out. We'll have to see how this develops. This is not a thing that will stop just today. This will go down in the history books. This is what kids will learn. What is happening right now, what we're seeing before us is history. And we're going to have to demand strong answers from these leaders as to their choices that have impacts on so many, including these Afghan civilians who risked so much.